Hey guys, tonight we begin with something simple. This is a calm history story. There is no music here, no sudden sounds, no surprises. You don't need to listen closely. If your thoughts drift, that's perfectly fine. Tonight, we slow things down. Life moved slowly in the 1700s. Days were shaped by light and weather. Time stretched in ways difficult to imagine now. People lived by the sun, by the seasons, by the rhythm of nature. Everything took time, much time. There was no other way. No clocks ruled the day. Only light and darkness. Only the movement of the sun across the sky. And now, we begin. Morning came early. The room was dark, very dark, almost completely dark. Cold air filled the space. Cold. Still, heavy cold. Someone stirred, slowly, very slowly, reluctantly. Feet touched the wooden floor. The wood was cold, very cold. Rough under bare feet, rough wood, worn wood, old wood, wood that had been walked on for years, for decades perhaps. The feet pulled back slightly from the cold, then settled again, accepting it. A blanket was folded, one fold, two folds, three folds, four folds, set aside carefully. The blanket was heavy. Wool, thick wool, scratchy wool. It had kept the cold away during the long night, the dark night. The fireplace held only ash, gray ash, pale gray ash, fine ash from the night before. The ash was soft, like powder, like fine powder. It moved when touched, drifted, floated almost, settled again, slowly settled. Someone knelt down, slowly, knees touching the floor. The floor was hard, cold, unforgiving, uncomfortable. Hands reached for kindling, small pieces of wood, dry wood, brittle wood, split wood, old wood. The pieces were arranged carefully. One piece, another piece, a third piece, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. Each piece placed with care, with intention, with purpose. The wood felt rough. Splinters, dry splinters, sharp edges, coarse texture. Striking flint took time. One strike, nothing. No spark, only the sound. Two strikes, nothing, still nothing. The same sound. Three strikes, a spark. Finally, a small spark. Orange, brief, like a tiny star. Bright for a moment. The spark fell into the kindling, onto the dry wood. Among the pieces, it caught, slowly, so slowly, painfully slowly. A tiny flame appeared, orange, very small, fragile, weak. The flame grew, gradually, bit by bit, moment by moment. So gradually it touched another piece of wood, then another, spreading. The flame spread, slowly, carefully, tentatively. Smoke rose, thin smoke, gray smoke, acrid smoke. It drifted upward, toward the ceiling, toward the darkness above, toward the rafters. The smoke smelled familiar. Wood, smoke, always the same smell, the smell of every morning, the smell of every fire. The room remained dark, but the fire gave some light. Not much, just a little, just enough to see, barely enough. Enough to see shapes, table, chair, walls, door, window, the outline of things, the shadows of things. The fire crackled softly, very softly. Wood burning, slow burning, consuming itself gradually, bit by bit. The flames moved. They danced slightly, orange and yellow and red, casting shadows, moving shadows, living shadows. The shadows moved on the walls, slowly, up and down, side to side, never still, but never hurried either. Just moving. Water needed to be fetched. Always water. Every morning. The same task. A wooden bucket sat near the door, empty, waiting. The bucket was worn, old, very old, ancient perhaps. The wood was dark, stained from years of use, decades of use, decades of water, decades of hands. The bucket was lifted, not heavy when empty, light, easy to carry. The handle was worn smooth, very smooth, polished smooth, from many hands, over many years, over countless mornings just like this one. The door opened, creaking, loud creaking. The hinges were old, metal on metal, rusty metal. A familiar sound was the same sound every morning, the same complaint from the hinges. Outside was quiet, very quiet, completely quiet. No sounds, no movement, no birds yet. Too early for birds. The air was cold, sharp cold, biting cold. It touched the face, made the skin tighten, made the eyes water slightly, made the nose run. Footsteps on dirt, soft sounds, crunching sounds. Each step made a small sound, quiet but distinct, audible in the silence. The well was not far. Perhaps 20 steps, but perhaps 30, perhaps 40. It was hard to say in the dark. Distance felt different in darkness. Everything felt different. Each step took time. 1 foot, then the other, then the first again, then the other again. The rhythm of walking. Left, right, left, right, again and again. The ground felt uneven. Small stones, patches of grass, hard earth, soft earth. Each step different, each step its own experience. The well appeared. A dark circle, darker than the darkness around it would you avoid almost. Stone around the edge, worn stone, smooth from use, from hands resting there, from buckets scraping against it, from years of drawing water. The bucket was lowered into the well. Rope passed through hands, slowly, hand over hand. The rope felt rough. Thick rope, strong rope, rough fibers, coarse texture. It passed through the hands, sliding, controlled, carefully controlled. The bucket descended, down, 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 into darkness, into deep darkness, into cold darkness. The bucket touched water. A soft splash, barely heard. A gentle sound, a wet sound. The sound echoed slightly, inside the well. Faint echo. Then silence again. Deep silence. The bucket filled. Water poured in, through the sides, over the edges. The weight changed. The rope grew heavier in the hands, much heavier. The rope was pulled up, hand over hand, the same motion, again and again. Repeated motion, pull, 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 steady pulls, even pulls, strong pulls. The bucket grew heavier, much heavier, significantly heavier. Full of water now, heavy with water, cold water. The rope strained, the hands pulled, steady, slow, not rushing, never rushing. The bucket appeared, rising from the well, rising from the darkness and rising into dim light. Water inside, dark water, cold water, deep water. The bucket reached the top, was lifted over the edge, carefully, so carefully, set down, carefully, on the stone edge, on the worn stone. Water sloshed slightly inside the bucket. Gentle movement, liquid movement. The bucket was lifted again, by the handle, carefully, with both hands now. The walk back was slower, much slower, significantly slower. The bucket was heavy now. Water moved inside the bucket, gently, side to side, forward and back, with each step careful, very careful, extremely careful, not to spill, not to waste water. Water was precious, back inside, finally back inside. The door closed quietly, more quietly than it opened. The hinges creaked again, the same creak, the familiar creak. The water was set down near the fire. The bucket rested on the floor, heavy, full, sitting there, waiting to be used. The fire crackled softly. The flames still burned, steady flames, growing flames, orange and red, yellow at the edges, blue at the base. The room grew slightly warmer, only slightly, barely noticeably. The cold still lingered in corners, in shadows, in the air itself. Time passed, minutes, many minutes. How many? 5, 10? It was hard to say. Time felt different here. The fire burned. The room lightened. Just a little. Gray light instead of black. Dark gray instead of pure black. Morning had begun. Finally begun. The day stretched ahead. Long. Slow. Predictable. Like every other day. Like yesterday. Like tomorrow would be. Like every day before. Like every day to come. The field was not far from the house, not far from the door. It took time to walk there, but no one was in a hurry. There was never a hurry, never a reason to rush, never a reason for speed. The ground felt firm under each step, sometimes dry, sometimes soft, sometimes wet, depending on the weather, depending on the season, depending on many things, depending on rain, depending on sun. Each step was deliberate, careful, purposeful, intentional. The path was worn. Many feet had walked this path, over many years, over many seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, again and again, year after year, Decade after decade, the soil had a familiar smell. Earthy, rich earth, damp earth, dark earth, living earth, quiet. A simple wooden tool was held in both hands. The tool was old, very old. Older than the person holding it, worn smooth by years of use, decades of use. The handle fit easily into the palms, perfectly, as if made for these hands, as if shaped by these hands. The wood of the handle was dark, stained, deep brown, from sweat, from weather, from time, from the oil of human skin, from years of grasping. The movement began, slow, deliberate, practiced. The tool pressed into the soil, down into the earth, blade into soil, metal into dirt, then lifted, up, out, then pressed again, down again, down, up, down, up. The same motion, over and over and over again, never changing, never varying. There was no rush to finish, no rush at all, no deadline, no schedule. Only the movement mattered, only the work itself, only this moment. The soil turned gently. Dark earth met the air. The earth was rich, dark brown, almost black in places, chocolate brown, coffee brown, moist but not wet, perfect for planting. Worms appeared sometimes, pink worms, pale pink, long worms. They moved slowly, writhing slowly, back into the soil, disappearing, burrowing down, seeking darkness again, seeking moisture, seeking safety. The digging continued, press down, lift up, press down, lift up, over and over, over and over, over and over. The rhythm was steady, unchanging, constant, reliable. Breathing stayed even, unnoticed, automatic, in, out, matching the rhythm of the work, in with the lift, out with the press, in, out. Seeds were held in the other hand, carefully, cradled there, protected there. Small seeds, light, tiny. They barely weighed anything, almost nothing, like holding air almost. The seeds felt smooth, tiny, round, perfect spheres, cool in the palm, dry in the palm. They fell into the ground one by one, no sound, just placement, just the simple act of placing one seed in each spot, one seed into the soil, into the dark earth, into the furrow, another seed, into the soil, into the earth, another, and another, and another, and another. Hands moved, then paused. Hands moved again, then paused again. The rhythm repeated itself, steadily, continuously, without end, without variation. The field looked the same as it did moments ago, perhaps a little different. It was hard to say. The changes were so small, so gradual, so subtle. Rows began to form, not perfectly straight, no, never perfect, but evenly enough, close enough, straight enough. That was all that mattered. Straightness didn't matter. Perfection didn't matter. Only that the seeds were planted, only that the work was done. The work continued. Press into soil. Lift. Press again. Lift. Press. Lift. Press. The same tool. The same hands. The same motion. The same rhythm. Hour after hour. Minute after minute. Time stretched. Minutes felt like hours. Or perhaps they were hours. It was difficult to tell. Time had a different quality here. In the field, at work, time moved differently. There was no reason to think about anything else. No reason to hurry. No reason to stop. No reason to change. No reason to vary. Only soil. Only movement. Only repetition. Only this moment. And the next moment. And the one after that. And the one after that. The sun moved across the sky. Slowly. Very slowly. Imperceptibly slowly. So slowly it seemed not to move at all. So slowly it appeared frozen. But it did move. Gradually. Imperceptibly. Moment by moment. Inch by inch across the sky. Shadows shifted. Gradually. The shadow of a tree. Moving inch by inch. Across the ground. Across the field. So slowly. Almost not moving. But moving nonetheless. The work did not change. More seeds placed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. More soil turned. The tool pressed down. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Hands grew slightly tired, but not too tired. Not exhausted. Not weak. The work was familiar. The hands knew this work. They had done it before. Many times before. Countless times before. So many times. Too many times to count. Press, lift, press, lift, press, lift. Each motion the same as the one before. Exactly the same. Identical, precise repetition, perfect repetition. The field remained quiet. Only the sound of the tool in earth, a soft scraping, a gentle sound, a rhythmic sound, metal on soil, wood on soil, earth moving, dirt shifting, again and again, again and again, again and again. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. It was difficult to tell. Time had lost its usual meaning here, in the field, in the work, in the repetition. The work continued, the same rhythm, the same pace, never faster, never slower, just steady, constant, unchanging, eternal almost, row after row. One row finished, another began, then another, then another, then another. The same process. Plant, cover, move, plant, cover, move. The pattern repeated over and over, over and over, without variation, without change. The soil felt the same. The seeds felt the same. The motion felt the same. The air felt the same. Everything was familiar, comfortable in its familiarity, safe in its sameness, predictable in its pattern. The sun climbed higher. Slowly, the sky lightened, gradually, from gray to pale blue. from pale blue to clear blue. Still the work continued. Plant, cover, move, plant, cover, move. The rhythm never broke, never faltered, never paused, never stopped. Eventually, finally, the work paused. Not finished. Never truly finished. There was always more to do, always another row, always another field. Just paused. For now, for this moment, the tool was set down, gently, on the ground. It rested there, in the soil, waiting. Hands rested too, at the sides, still, empty, tired but not exhausted, weary but satisfied. The field lay quiet, peaceful, still, rows of planted seeds, waiting to grow, waiting for rain, waiting for sun, waiting for time to pass, waiting for spring to become summer. The morning had passed, slowly, in the way mornings did, in the way they always did, in the way they would tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. The walk to town took time, much time, more time than seems reasonable now. The road was simple, dirt and stone, nothing more. Worn from use, from feet, from carts, from horses. Each step made a soft sound on footsteps on dry earth, soft crunching. The rhythm of walking. One step, another step, another. Left foot, right foot, left, right. The pattern continued. Trees lined parts of the road, tall trees, old trees. Their branches moved slightly. When wind came, but often there was no wind, only stillness, complete stillness. The road curved gently, not straight, but not difficult to follow. Walking continued, one foot, then the other. The same motion, step after step. Sometimes there was a need to pause, to rest, to breathe. The view did not change much. Trees, sky, road ahead. Walking resumed in the same pace. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Minutes passed and the sound of footsteps continued, soft, regular. Sometimes a bird could be heard, distant, faint, but mostly silence. The road went on. More trees appeared, and then fields, then trees again. The pattern repeated. Walking continued. There was no need to hurry. The town would be there. Eventually, one step, another step. The rhythm stayed the same. Breathing stayed even. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The sky above remained mostly unchanged. Blue, pale blue. Perhaps clouds moved. Slowly. But they were high, very high. The road curved again. Gently, walking continued around the curve. Time felt stretched, each moment lasting. But there was no impatience and only walking. More steps, more road. The sun's position shifted, gradually. Shadows changed length, slowly. Walking continued and with the same road, so the same direction, always forward. Dust rose from footsteps, small clouds of dust, settling slowly. The road was dry, hard-packed dirt. Walking continued, step, step, step. The rhythm never broke. Eventually, buildings appeared in the distance, small shapes, far away, barely visible. But walking did not change. The same pace. The town grew closer. Gradually, the buildings grew larger. With each step, more buildings appeared, and the town was ahead, still distant, but closer now. Walking continued. The road led forward, toward the town, toward buildings, but still far. Still time. Still walking. The rhythm continued. The town was quiet, not empty. People were there, but quiet. People moved slowly between buildings, along the road, unhurried. The market area held a few tables, wooden tables, simple tables. Items sat on the tables: cloth, candles, food. People stood near the tables, some looking, some waiting, some just standing. No one hurried. Words were exchanged, softly, quietly. A few words at a time. Good morning. A pause. Good morning. Silence. The weather is fair. Another pause. Yes. More silence. Someone examined cloth, fingers touching the fabric, feeling the texture. Rough weave. The cloth was folded, then unfolded, then folded again. Time passed. Someone else waited, just standing, patient. A transaction occurred slowly. Coins were counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Placed carefully into a hand. The cloth changed hands. Thank you. A pause. Good day. Silence returned. People remained standing, waiting. The market continued, the same pace, the same quiet. Someone walked past, slowly, footsteps on dirt. Another person stood at a table, looking at candles. The candles were made of tallow, pale, unlit. How much? A long pause. A price was stated. Consideration took time. I'll take 2. The candles were wrapped in cloth, carefully. Coins exchanged hands again. More waiting. People stood. Some talked, quietly. Words barely audible. The sun moved or shadow shifted. The market remained quiet, slow. Someone left. Walking away slowly, someone else arrived. The pattern continued. Tables remained. Items remained. People came. People went. All slowly. The town square stayed quiet. Wooden buildings surrounded the space. Simple buildings. Gray wood. Weathered. Nothing changed quickly here. Time moved, but it felt suspended. The market continued in the same rhythm. A dog walked past, slowly. A child stood near a mother. Quiet child, not playing, just standing. Everything slow, everything quiet. The market would be here tomorrow, the same market. And the day after, nothing changed. This was the market. This was the town. This was the way things were. Back inside, the door closed quietly. The fire still burned. Low flames, orange and red. A pot hung over the fire. Black iron pot, heavy. Water was added to the pot, slowly poured. From the wooden bucket, the water came from the well. The bucket was lifted, tilted. Water splashed gently into the pot. The pot hung still. Time passed, and the water began to warm, slowly. No bubbles yet, just warming. Ingredients were gathered. Vegetables sat on a table. Turnips, onions. A knife was picked up. Simple blade, wooden handle. The cutting began. One turnip was selected, be placed on the cutting board. The knife pressed down. The turnip split, half, then quarters. The knife moved carefully. Pieces accumulated. The onion was next. The outer layer peeled away, papery, dry. Hands worked slowly. The onion's inner layers appeared, white, moist. The knife cut through. One slice, two slices. The onion separated into rings. All pieces went into the pot, one by one. Splash, splash. The water held them. The fire continued. Flames licked the bottom of the pot. The water warmed further. Time passed. A wooden spoon was retrieved. Long handle, smooth from use. The spoon dipped into the pot, stirred. Slow circles, clockwise. The vegetables moved in the water. The spoon lifted, then dipped again. Stirring continued. The same motion. Around and around. The water began to simmer. Tiny bubbles appeared, rising. The pot made soft sounds. Quiet bubbling. The spoon stirred again, around and around. The smell changed, slightly. Vegetables cooking. Faint smell. Warm smell. The fire crackled occasionally. More time passed, and the spoon stirred. Again, the same motion, the same sound, scraping the pot bottom gently. The contents moved, slowly. Heat spread through the pot. The cooking continued, no rush, just time, and heat, and waiting. The spoon rested against the pot edge. The fire burned. The pot simmered. Quiet sounds filled the room. Fire crackling. Water bubbling softly. Nothing else. The cooking continued, would continue. For a while yet. The afternoon arrived. The meal had been eaten. Slowly. Quietly. Now came the long stretch of afternoon. The longest part of the day. Work remained, always work. But the pace stayed the same. Slow. Someone sat at a table. Wooden chair. Hard seat. Hands rested on the table. Still. Outside. The sun was high. Inside. The light was dim. One small window. Letting in some light. Tasks waited. A piece of cloth needed mending. A tear. Small tear. Thread was retrieved. Thin thread. Brown thread. A needle was threaded. On the first try. No. Missed. On a second try. No. On the third try. Yes. Through. The cloth was held. The needle pierced the fabric. Pull through. Again. The same motion. In. Out. In. Out. The tear slowly closed. Time moved. Slowly. The hands worked. Steady. Unhurried. Eventually, the mending finished. The cloth was set aside. Hands rested again. Stillness returned. Outside. Nothing moved. Perhaps a cloud drifted. Perhaps a leaf fell. Inside. Silence. Sitting. Breathing. Waiting. The afternoon continued, long, quiet, still. Light from the window shifted. Gradually. Shadows moved across the floor. Someone stood, walked to the window, looked out. The view was familiar. Nothing had changed. Returned to the chair. Sat down again. More time passed. The afternoon stretched on, each moment like the one before. Hands folded, unfolded, folded again. Sitting, waiting. The quiet continued, only breathing, only stillness. Time felt suspended. The afternoon was long, very long. But there was no impatience, and this was how afternoons were. Slow, quiet, long. Letters came slowly, very slowly. A letter might take weeks to arrive. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes 2 months. People waited. Has anything come? A pause. No, nothing. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow came. Nothing. Maybe tomorrow. Days passed like this. 1 week, 2 weeks. Still waiting. When a letter did arrive, it was an event. Someone carried the letter, folded paper, sealed with wax, red wax. The paper was thick, rough texture. The wax seal was pressed with a mark. The letter was handed over. This came. Thank you. The letter was held carefully, examined. Who sent it? The seal was broken. Carefully. The wax cracked. The paper unfolded. Inside. Words in ink, black ink, and faded in places. The letter was read slowly, one line at a time. The weather has been fair. Work continues. Hope you are well. Simple words, nothing urgent, just words from far away. The letter was folded again, placed aside. Weeks had passed for this, the waiting, the arrival, the reading, all slow. News traveled the same way, slowly. Word of distant events reached towns late, very late. There was something, I don't know exactly, and something far from here, when weeks ago, maybe months, the details were unclear, always unclear. By the time news arrived, it was old, but it didn't matter. Time moved slowly anyway. What happened far away stayed far away. People heard. People nodded. I see. Then life continued. The same pace. Letters continued to be waited for. Days passed. Weeks passed. Anything today? No. Maybe tomorrow. The waiting continued. It was part of life. Slow, uncertain, but familiar. The waiting, the wondering, the hoping. That was life. The sun began to lower, not quickly, gradually. The light changed, less bright, softer. Shadows grew longer. The day was ended. Work slowed further. Tools were set down, one by one. Hands paused. The walking back began. From field, from town, walking home. The same roads, known paths, footsteps in dirt, steady, tired, not exhausted, just tired, quiet, tired. The sky shifted colors, blue fading, orange appearing, pink arriving. The horizon glowed dimly. Trees stood dark against the sky, silhouettes. Walking continued, and the roads were familiar. Every turn known. Home was near. The buildings appeared, recognizable shapes. Doors were reached. Doors opened, hinges creaking. Inside was dim. The fire had burned low, almost out, just embers. Someone knelt, added wood. The fire grew again, flame appearing. Light flickered, shadows danced on walls. The evening had arrived. The day was nearly done. There was relief in this, quiet relief. The work was finished. For today, tomorrow would bring more. But tomorrow was not yet here. Now was evening. Time to rest. The light outside faded further. Darkness approached. Gently. The world quieted even more. Evening settled. Quiet. Peaceful. Candles were lit, one by one. A flame touched to wick. The wick caught. Small flame appeared, orange, yellow, steady. One candle, then another. The room held a few candles, 3, maybe 4. Their light was soft, warm glow, but dim. Shadows filled most of the room. The flames barely moved, sometimes a flicker, then still again. The wick burned slowly. Wax began to melt near the flame, soft wax. It dripped, one drop, slowly forming, then falling. Down the side of the candle, the wax cooled, hardened, white wax. Another drop formed, then fell. The candle grew shorter, very slowly. The flame continued, steady. The light it gave was gentle, not enough to read easily, but enough to see. Shapes in the room, table, chairs, walls, all soft in the dim light. Shadows shifted slightly. When someone moved and the candle flame swayed just a little, then steadied again. The smell of burning wax, faint, mixed with smoke smell. The room was quiet, only the occasional crackle from the fire. The candles burned, silent. Time passed and the flame stayed small. The wax continued to drip, slowly. The room remained dim, peaceful. The darkness outside was complete now. Only candlelight inside, soft, warm, gentle. The evening continued. Small tasks remained, even in dim light. Someone sat near a candle. Hands worked, a piece of cloth, sewing. The needle moved, in and out. The thread pulled through, again and again. Slow, careful. The light was barely enough and the stitches were small, regular, one after another. Time passed and the sewing continued. Quiet work, no words, just the movement of hands. Another task, mending a tool handle. The wood had split. A thin cord was wrapped around it, binding it around and around. The cord pulled tight. Hands worked patiently. The binding continued, around and around. Eventually tied off. The tool set aside. more sitting. Hands rested in lap. Stillness. The fire burned low. Someone added another piece of wood. The flames grew slightly, then settled again. The candles continued burning, getting shorter, wax dripping. The evening tasks were simple, nothing urgent, just things that needed doing. Slowly, in dim light, the work continued, quietly, peacefully, no rush to finish. If something wasn't done tonight, tomorrow would come. There was no hurry, only the slow movement of hands and time passing. In candlelight, the days were similar. One day, then another. They formed weeks. Weeks formed months. Months formed seasons. Spring came. Rain fell. Soft rain, day after day. Seeds were planted in the wet earth. Days were longer. Light stayed later. The work was planting, tending, watching, waiting. Summer arrived. Heat came. The sun was strong. Work continued in fields, in gardens, weeding, watering. Crops grew. Slowly, green appeared, then taller, then ripe. Summer continued. Autumn came. The air changed, cooler. Leaves changed color, yellow, orange, red, brown. They fell, one by one. Harvest began, gathering what had grown. The same slow work, collecting, storing. Days grew shorter. Light faded earlier. The work adapted. Winter arrived. Cold came. Sharp cold. Snow fell. Quiet snow. Covering the ground. White. Work moved inside. Mending. Preparing. Waiting. The fire burned more. All day. All night. Keeping warm. Days were short. Very short. Dark came early. The cold stayed, waiting for spring. Spring came again. The cycle repeated. Rain. Planting. Summer again. Heat. Growth. Autumn again. Harvest. Cooling. Winter again. Cold. Snow. The seasons turned one after another, each year like the one before. The same pattern, the same rhythm. Plant in spring, tend in summer, harvest in autumn, wait in winter. Again and again, time moved. But slowly, one season, then another. The cycle continued, always, forever. Years passed, the same. The rhythm never broke. This was life. This was time. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring again, forever. The candles burned low, very low. The flames grew smaller, shorter. Soon they would go out. One candle flickered, wavered, then went dark. Smoke rose, thin line of smoke, rising. Another candle dimmed. The flame grew smaller, then out. The light faded. The room grew darker. Someone stood, slowly, moved toward the last candle, leaned close, breathed gently. The flame went out. Darkness. Complete darkness. The fire in the fireplace was nearly gone. Just embers now. Orange glow. Faint glow. The room was warm enough for now. Sleep was near. Very near. The blankets waited. In the darkness, Hands felt for them in darkness, found them, lay down. Slowly, the blanket was pulled up, covering, heavy wool covering. The darkness was complete. Silence, deep silence, only breathing, soft breathing, even breathing. In, out, and in, out. Sleep came. Gently, quietly, eyes closed. Sleep, deep sleep, peaceful sleep. The day was over, finally over. Tomorrow would come, but not yet. Now was rest. Now was sleep. Now was peace. History continues, quietly, slowly. And now you can rest.